Niburu's at it again. Most of you are probably aware that the end times were supposed to start last Saturday, the 23rd of September. David Mead, a self-proclaimed researcher, says so. When the 23rd came and went with no noticeable worldwide apocalypse occurring, he said he was misunderstood. The 23rd was just a marker date he had calculated, and that there would soon be much more noticeable events. Doomsday, for example, starting on October 15th. The planet Niburu will make some sort of pass at the Earth, the world's electrical grid will collapse, and the long-awaited 7 years of tribulation will begin. Wars, famine, fires, volcanoes, tidal waves, earthquakes. Although how this makes the end times differ from regular times is beyond me. Now, as to the complete non-existence of the planet Niburu, I refer you to my quasi-theory from a year ago March. 2 comets plus a Hopi prophecy do not equal doomsday from a 12th planet. I shan't rehash poor Niburu again today. No, what I am going to hash up here is a bit of Mead's methodology by which he came up with this prediction of his. To wit, he says he is using numerology to get a lot of his numbers and dates. He's doing numerology on the Bible. Numerology is bogus, of course, just like most forms of divination. But it is a modern bastardization of an ancient system of encoding hidden meanings into stories and poems. That system was called, in Greek, gematria. Briefly, most of the ancient Mediterranean cultures like Greece and Rome didn't use separate symbols for numbers when they did any math. These days we use what are called Arabic numerals, which were actually invented by Hindus in India. The Mediterraneans simply used their alphabets, like the Roman numerals. The Greeks, and Greek was the actual language of the Roman Empire, went alpha is 1, beta is 2. You get the idea. Many philosophers and poets back then actually encoded hidden meanings and messages in their writings. The name of a hero, for example, would be spelled in such a way as to, when you added up the numerical equivalent of the letters of the name, it would give you a clue as to the real underlying meaning of the story or poem. Gematria is actually much more complicated than that. There are rules for taking all these numbers gotten from adding up the letters and doing some math with them, adding, subtracting, all sorts of little things. If you were initiated into the system, you could hide all sorts of things in your writings, things that could only be figured out by other initiates. I use the words initiate and initiated for a reason. Gematria was invented by the founders of the ancient mystery religions, and you had to be initiated into those mysteries to know how to use Gematria. The Greco-Roman religion consisted of numerous cults to individual gods. Bacchus, Apollo, Diana, Demeter, Venus, Heracles, all had their cults. The Christian New Testament was written by people who had been initiated into the mystery religions. It has a lot of things that can be read via Gematria, but the Gematria has to be done on the Greek text, not on the Latin, English, or whichever, but on the original Greek text, which we ain't got no more. It gets better or worse, depending on your point of view. No one knows all the real rules for Gematria. Some claim to know them, but the initiates into the mysteries never wrote them down. There is one example of Gematria in the book of Revelations for which the real meaning is known. It is the number 666, the number of the beast. The Hebrew name of the Messiah was Yehoshua. You can certainly spell that in Greek letters, but the authors of the New Testament spelled it as Jesus. That's Iota, Eta, Sigma, Omicron, Upsilon. They add up to 888. Pythagoras said that 888 is the number of the perfected human. Therefore, Jesus' name had to add up to 888, he being the only perfect human in all. Pythagoras also said that 666 is the number of the carnal man, who lives only to satisfy his lustful urges. Therefrom comes the number of the beast. So, when someone like Mead starts using numerology, not Gematria, on their English Bible to figure out what the gods have in store for us, they might as well put out a Ouija board or inspect chicken guts or maybe throw some yarrow sticks and consult the I Ching. It will be at least as reliable as mixing selected bits of the Old Testament with selected bits of the New Testament and then running them over with a rogue planet. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydin.com. That's BHDIN.com.